Good afternoon, everybody. So much is going on. I feel like, let me do my little intro here. Heidi Foy with Bullfrog Creatives. I feel like I might have jinxed myself last week in my conversation with Flint because I made the comment that it started to feel like we were getting back to normal. So, fast forward a little bit. We are now in quarantine at our house because the Foys got to experience the COVID tests. Luckily, we only did the rapid test. However, one of us has tested positive for COVID-19. So we're on lockdown. We're doing, what do they call it? Adaptive learning now, which basically means it's crazy at home and ridiculous. And mom tries to work and dad goes outside and works. And we juggle all the things inside. So I will tell you, we're really lucky. It's one of the kids that tested positive and they're pretty strong little boogers. So far, very minimal symptoms. But again, like we'll just kind of see what happens. So this is going to look a little different. We're going back to the original ceiling fan in the background and doing this from my living room now. And children could be running in. Luckily, it's cold outside again, so I don't have to worry about them running behind me with no clothes on. So there's that. So today I'm really excited to bring you guys a gentleman that I worked with, not rodeoed with, but worked with at the college finals here in Casper as a coach, and then have been really enjoying kind of watching in the pro rodeo ranks. He made I think he made the decision that everybody at one point wants to make, and to be able to do that is a blessing for sure. But he made the decision to kind of pull away from his day job, as I would refer to it as. We'll see what he calls it, and made the decision to rodeo full time. So super excited. Although, man, I was thinking about you a lot this spring when everything kind of got shut down because I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll give him his job back.
What are the odds, huh? What are
Yeah,
the odds of quitting your day job to rodeo, and then there's no rodeos, so
yeah.
that's not fun. But
Something that would never happen, clearly.
uh,
And
yeah, but there are so many. If you're willing to look for them, I guess I should set this up with, I know that this year has been so tough on so many people with lost loved ones and
mhm,
lost jobs and financial crisis. So I certainly don't want to belittle any of those things, but for my family, there are blessings there if you're willing to look for them. And
absolutely.
it has been a very, very, very hard year, but I've learned so much about myself. We've just, it has been good. It's still a little fresh.
Mhm.
So I think that we'll look back on it one day and be like, oh, we're so thankful for that. Right now, I'm like, oh, please, can we please rodeo? But
Yeah.
anyway,
Can you just let this work?
yeah, for sure. But it's been good.
So I don't even think I got to your name. So welcome, Logan Corbett. Thank you. We could just start talking and forget about everybody else that's even watching. Um, so the good thing is, I always see you in June. I always see you again in July, and then I follow you, which is so creepy when you say that. And Facebook has made that like a totally allowable statement. But I follow you on Facebook and get to see your family and your. Listen, bad thing. I found your wife's boutique.
Yeah,
Yeah, my husband wasn't very excited about that either. So
no,
that's awesome.
that is
Um,
you and a dozen other women that are helping us buy our first house here in a few weeks. So
yeah, I'm glad.
thank you, appreciate.
So, which is funny you should mention that. I'm waiting to close on a couple of houses here in town before I can actually spend money with you. So, I mean, it's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. I'm
Don't
coming.
don't be scared. Don't be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't.
So it's been really great to watch and kind of follow. So I have questions, and I do not I think the number one thing when you're interviewing is to always know the answer to your questions. And I have proven to my staff, myself and my followers that I don't know the answers because sometimes I don't get the answer that I think I'm going to get, and it's awkward. Um, so there you go. It's real authentic around here. Um, so let's talk about, we met and had a great conversation last year at the Pro Rodeo here in Casper about a business that you were doing. I'm real interested in kind of, if you took that anywhere, I would love for you to talk about that. If you didn't, then we can quickly change the subject.
Yeah, no, it's great. I haven't done a whole lot with it. So, ultimately the business is based around the gap that we see in rodeo. A lot of people that can come in and can help young guys not only with goal setting and the mental preparation, which is one of the aspects that I really loved about coaching is the mental side of things, as well as the physical and so on. And so as far as like my business is concerned, it's kind of taken a little bit of a back seat. When COVID hit and we were stuck at home, I decided to get my certificate for personal training. And so I just lucked into this great opportunity with Doug Champion and Champion Living Fitness. And he already had this great business set up. It'd been running. I mean, Doug has rode bareback horses. He owned his own CrossFit gym right out of college. It was super successful in the Stephenville, Texas area. He sold it and he started this remote coaching company called Champion Living Fitness, where we train people via an app on their phone. And so at any rate, I say that to say that when I got my certificate, I was just called Doug one day out of the blue, hadn't seen him in years, and was just wanting to know how he operated his business, because I was really interested in getting a similar business of my own like that. And he was like, man, I've got a waiting list. Would you want to hop on and train for me? And I was like, man, that's wonderful. Absolutely. It would be a way for me to learn from somebody that knows the industry, knows what he's doing, and put my certificate to use. So that's what I did. And that's filled a lot of my void that I was wanting to go in the direction with my own business, is being able to work for Doug and for Champion Living. He's got a whole slew of people that are of his clients that there's half a dozen or more that are going to their NFR this year. We've had clients at almost every circuit finals. We've got 2 clients going to the PBR Canada finals this weekend. So I say that to say, like, this wide client base that we've got has been able to give me what I loved about coaching, being able to work with individuals and talk with them and find out what their goals are and help them reach their next level. And so it's really been good. And at the rate that I'm at now, it's not so much that I can't continue to rodeo. And so it gives me something to be able to do at home while we're all kind of waiting on rodeos to kick back up. And it's been great. So no, I haven't done a lot with my business. Being able to step in and help Doug with Champion Living has kind of filled that void, and ultimately probably worked out better than if I'd have tried to start my own thing anyway. So
Yeah, it's interesting. When you have an idea of how things are going to work or should work, it's always interesting when a wrench gets dropped in it and it works out better than you thought that it would.
yeah, God's plans are always so much better than ours, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and so at any rate, it has worked out awesome.
It's always really funny because I'm a planner kind of by nature, and that's one of the hardest parts of my faith journey, is that, like, you can make plans all you want and it's still probably not going to happen the way you think it should.
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes is over prepare and go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, man, I try to be as prepared as I can for, as all the things that we might face, whether it's in the rodeo career or whether it's in just life in general, personal finances, but you have to be flexible. Yeah. And that is, I've always been like, lighter on the preparation and heavier on the go with the flow. And my wife is the opposite. She is. So I feel like we've finally got to a spot where we compromise and we work together pretty well on that.
Yeah. It's not easy. As far as the planner, like, it's not easy to become flexible. My husband and I are the exact same way. So I feel you on that. So Logan, let's kind of step back a little bit. Talk to me about your, I'm going to make an assumption here, and I think it's fair, but again, I ask questions I don't know the answers to, so this is what I get. Did you college rodeo, and where did you college rodeo?
Yeah, absolutely. I college rodeoed for a couple of places. The first place that I went, my what would have been my freshman year, it, I'm trying to think if we should to start the story at the beginning. I dropped out of high school my junior year because I was failing some classes, and you don't
Mhm.
need no education to rodeo, and
Right.
so I quickly learned. My parents said, "That's fine. That's what you want to do. You're gonna pay for rent and groceries and whatnot." And so I had two jobs. I worked a full time night job, stocking shelves at a grocery store, and then I worked at a sub shop in Nashville during the day. So it didn't take very long before I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I decided to go to school. I got my GED in like July, and in August, I started at University of Tennessee at Martin, and I rodeoed for Coach Luthi over there, and that's a phenomenal program. My second college rodeo of the year, I got injured. I got kicked in the face by a bucking horse, and I
Mm.
spent a lot of time in the hospital in Little Rock, and ended up dropping out of classes. And because I'd missed so much, I withdrew from my classes. And my wife, now girlfriend at the time, was going to school at Murray State University, and so I started hanging out there at Murray while we were dating, and I just fell in love with the facilities. The coach and I got along really well. It kind of had that intangible quality for me. It just felt like home. And so that next fall, I didn't do anything in the spring. That next fall, I started technically my freshman year. I was 21 the September of my freshman year. So I was able to buy beer, and most of the kids I was in class with just learned to drive. So it was a pretty interesting time. But I graduated with a bachelor's degree in animal science from Murray State. I college rodeoed there all 4 years. The three, I didn't get my first card back. And so I made the college finals my junior and senior year and rodeoed for JD Van Hooser there at Murray State. And it's still, it's home. That area is home.
So it all just connected as soon as you said JD. So clearly JD made you come to the CNFR. Like he voluntold you, you get to come this week early and help set up the arena. That
Exactly.
is where we met.
I was assistant coach for him for 2 years before I went to school or went to work at New Mexico State. And so those 2 years that I was assistant coaching, he was like, "Man, you could come out early and help if you wanted to." And I was like, "Man, at the time I wasn't rodeoing," and so I was like, "That'd be, yeah, I'd like to go out there." And so that was where I really got to meet. That was where I really got to. You still there? Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Jim Dewey and be around him, Jim Dewey Brown and Roger, the commissioner, and so I kind of got to know some people then,
Yeah.
and that's when the doors just started opening and things started clicking, and in 2016 we moved to New Mexico.
Wow. So was that I mean, the idea of moving away from Wyoming for me, my husband would drop it and go anywhere, but this like my safety net here. Was that a hard move for you guys?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was probably harder for my wife because she
Mhm.
had never really been that far away. Like it didn't really bother me that much. But and it was good. We got married in September of 15, and Christmas of that year we moved to New Mexico, and then September, excuse me, of 16 we had our first child, and so it just kind of all and it was just kind of a whirlwind there for 2016 was a super crazy year. So yeah, we it was good. It's definitely an adjustment culture wise. And the culture out there is just different, and the landscape is different. Not better, not worse. It was just different than what we were used to. So we, we both learned a lot out there, and I'm super super thankful for our time there.
So, how long were you the coach at New Mexico?
January of 16 to May 1st of 2020. So like a little over 4 years or so.
Okay.
And it was good. It was really good time. It was, I wasn't rodeoing when I took the job out there. I had quit
Yeah.
rodeoing and I was just focused on coaching. And then um, that we started in January, and by the fall that summer, I had kind of let some kids on the rodeo team talk me into getting back on. And I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to like get in shape and do a few things. And so I worked out for about 3 months before I got on my first one. Uh, I went to the first rodeo I went to was Brawley, California, and I was like 64 points. And I was like, well, maybe not that wise of a decision. And then I went to they have a rodeo association out there called the Grand Canyon Rodeo, and they took 12 to their finals. I didn't go to any of the rodeos, but they let me enter their finals, and I ended up placing in a round and won another round and won the average. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. And right after that, I went to Denver and ended up winning second in a round and made the short round. And I was like,
Holy
man,
cow.
I'd rodeoed for 5 years on my permit, but I never took it seriously. If you would have asked me at 20 or 22 years old if I was taking it seriously, and I would have said yes. But looking back, I was like, I'm just wasting my time and everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing to me what I could accomplish when I put in the work. And so that was kind of how it started. Is 2016, I started rodeoing again, and would really only be able to rodeo a little bit in the winter, and
Right.
then a lot in the summer. You know, I mean, it got to the spot where we got in a little bit of like conflict, like 2000 maybe 19. I got into Houston, and I entered Houston around our college rodeos, but I got put up on my first day at Houston was going to be the second day of one of our college rodeos. And then on top of that, I got an invite to the super shootout that Houston does. And that, I mean, I think they only take like maybe 12 guys. And everybody gets paid for coming. At any rate,
Right.
it was on the first day of that college rodeo. So like I was supposed to go to the super shootout on Saturday, and then my set at Houston started on Sunday. And so I talked with the rodeo team about it, and I turned out of the super shootout. I didn't go just because I felt like the college students were the priority. And then and I talked with the rodeo team, and they were like, if we were in your position, we would want to go. And so I had my assistant coach handle that second day. So it just got to where it was becoming evident that I was going to have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the rodeo team was getting what they deserved of me. I also don't feel like my rodeo career was getting what it deserved of me. And so it just got to the spot where when I was just kind of easing around and rodeoing a little bit, it was fine. But when it was like, hey, there's an opportunity here, we had to make a decision. And we chose to kind of take the leap and see if we couldn't make rodeo work.
So did you all move back home?
We moved back to where my wife is from, which is in Southern Illinois. She's an only child, which explains a lot of her flaws. I'm just kidding, but no, child. And so her parents are great with the kids, and they are, not that my parents love spending time with the kids, but like it was just clear that like we needed some help with, and so Southern Illinois was a better fit for us to come back here and be able to be near family. And so my dad lives in Kentucky. He's 3 hours from where we live, and my mom is in Nashville. She's 3 hours. So it's a perfect spot. So yeah, we came back to Southern Illinois where my wife is from, and looking
Very
at
cool.
a house near here. So
Very cool. So I have to make a comment because I think that, well, first of all, the whole idea of doing this type of a conversation and interview pre-March was awkward, and it was weird. And it probably still is to so many people. I've done at least one a week since the middle of April. So I'm getting pretty used to it. It's fairly normal. Sometimes I don't even do my hair because the day just does not allow for that to happen. And that's okay. And so all of that being said, like, I really appreciate, I got a message from you. I said, whenever you're ready, here's the new link. And then you messaged me and you're like, I got to get my kids to sleep. I appreciate that so much. And I see a little head bebopping around in the back there.
I literally got her to sleep, and then as soon as we pulled over, she woke up. Can you say hi, Conley? Can you wave?
Hi.
No. All right. Yeah, she's kind of waving. Not really. Kind of one of those.
She waved. She's good. But I mean, it's so much. I would say that it's kind of the reason that we all finally make the decisions that we do
Yeah.
in our lives. And, you know, I joke around about how my kids are here and they're terrible little terrorists running around trying to push me over the edge. And I mean, truth be told, like I was one of them too. And it's just the stage that we go through and all the reasons that we make the decisions that we do so that we can do the things and be with our family that we can. So I'm so proud of you for making that decision. When I saw that announcement on Facebook, like it kind of drew my breath away, like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
big choice. Um, and God bless his wife, man.
Yeah.
Cause that's a big choice too. So I'm really like, I don't feel like I'm much older than you, but man, I'm proud of you for making that jump and especially sticking with it through the year. And I would also add that it's a really great tie-in for you to get your, I think, your personal trainer certification.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I think has changed, and I've listened to a few different podcasts here lately. The one thing I think has changed so much is that the rodeo cowboy looks different than he did in the 80s and 90s. And that is probably the number one thing that's changed. And I would say that it's changed in college and in the professional ranks as well. But how you prepare mentally and physically is so much different now than what it used to be. I think the rodeo cowboy used to be really more known for, um, you know, you show up, you do your thing, you go to the bar, you
Yeah.
show up the next day. And that's not really the case anymore. Granted, there are those super talented people that things just come naturally to them and the working out and the physical and mental preparedness is not their game and they can still go out and kick everybody's butt. Um,
Absolutely.
but so much more a part of the preparation now than it ever has been in the past.
I completely agree with you. It has completely changed the game. Being like, I don't know exactly where the swap was made.
Yeah.
If it was like, I mean, what just comes to my mind is like Kelly Timberman. He's from up
Yep.
there in that part of the country. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's him or where. It's got to be somewhere around in that era. Like, instead of guys, hanging out behind the buck and shoots and chugging a beer or that, like, there was this guy jumping rope, or this guy over here doing
Mhm.
push-ups, and then that guy started winning. And it was like, man, if we want to keep up, now we've
We got to
we've
do
got to
these
start
things.
putting in some work too. And next thing you know, I mean, now, I mean, you look at just guys that I'm familiar with. I mean, the guys that I'm familiar with, like Tim O'Connell, animal in the gym, like
Mhm.
Tanner Oz. A lot of these guys are doing CrossFit. I mean, Tilden Hooper, Casey Field. I mean, anybody that's like the best guys in the world at what we do, and that's just in the bareback riding. That's what I'm super
Mhm.
familiar with. But those guys are putting in the work day in and day out. They're preparing themselves, especially this time of year. Like, I mean, where they're able to rest and let their bodies regroup and get ready for the NFR. If you want to be competitive, you've got to get outside yourself. And for years, I would just scroll Instagram or Facebook and I was like, oh, that workout looks cool, or this exercise looks
Mhm.
cool, or I bet that would help with bareback riding. Or I'd talk with other bareback riders. What are you doing? What makes a difference? What can we, and I would just try to hodgepodge and put everything together. And then this past January, knowing that I was going to be stepping out on a limb and rodeoing for a living, I decided to go to a gym where we were living in Las Cruces, Arrowwood Fitness, and they had a personal trainer in there. And so I hired him at 3 days a week to train me. He knew nothing about rodeo, but he was willing. I came in the next day and he had done some research and looked at some videos. And that was what really made a huge difference for me in my riding, was when I hired somebody that knew the science behind fitness, because fitness does not equal performance. A lot of
Right.
people think about just being fit and that's going to make me a better bareback rider. I know a lot of guys that are absolute animals in the gym that are extremely fit, but they're not great
Mhm.
bareback riders. They're just
Mhm.
average. So I wouldn't say that fitness is the key to success in rodeo. However, it is a huge part of it. And having somebody in my corner that understood the anatomy of the body, understands how things work, what muscles I'm using when I'm competing, those kind of things, that was what really I feel like made a huge difference for me. And it really started my curiosity and sent me down that rabbit hole of wanting to get my certificate in personal training myself so that I could try to do that for other people. You know, I had somebody, I paid $300 a month. It was $280 a month for a personal trainer 3 days a week to go in there. And this guy didn't know anything about rodeo. Now he's willing to learn, and he did, and he helped me tremendously. But I thought, man, what if there was a guy that I could go to that already understands rodeo, and he knows bareback riding, and he's done it before, and could help me with what exercises to do, what stretches to do, what should my routine look like, whether it's warm up or cool down. Like, if I could find somewhere to go like that, what a difference that would make. And that's what I think Champion Living, Doug and I are trying to do. Is we don't just have bareback riders, we don't just have rodeo athletes. We've got a lot of people in all walks of life, all ages. Some people that just want to be, they just want to have a better quality of life. You know, we have a lot of rodeo athletes, bull riders, calf ropers, pickup men, stock contractors, all kinds of people in the rodeo world, and that we want to find out what is going to elevate your performance. What can we do that is going to make you better at what you want to do? And a lot of that comes into outside the gym. You know, it's not just about these hour-long workouts that we're going to give you a handful of times a week, because at the end of the day, if you're relying on 3 hours a week, 3 workouts a week, an hour apiece, 3 hours a week to make you a better barrel racer, ain't gonna happen. Like, it's got to be a lifestyle change. And so that's what we want to try to help the people with. We help people with nutrition, and we also give them workouts. And I've got guys that I've talked with about goal setting. I had a client of mine that didn't have his PRCA permit. He'd been going to amateur rodeos, but was planning on getting his PRCA permit next year. Courtney Moorhead with Three Hills Rodeo, she contacted me and found out that the First Frontier Circuit was looking for bareback riders because they only had 2 with money one this year because of COVID. And so she said, if you know anybody that doesn't have their permit, you know, reach out to them. So I was able to facilitate for one of my clients. He ended up getting his permit and going to his he went to First Frontier Rodeo and was able to qualify for the First Frontier Circuit Finals and went up there and won some money. So he had never been to a circuit finals before, and here he is, he buys his permit, and next thing you know, and so we were talking about, okay, what are our goals for the circuit finals, what's realistic, but what's also a little bit outside of our reach, how can we help you take the next level, and we set him up for success this next year. So I say all of that to say it's not just about what I like to do now, is really almost all of what I enjoyed about being a rodeo coach. It's helping people take that next step inside the arena, outside the arena. And it's a lot of fun. The relationships that I've built, I've got clients I've never met. We've talked on the phone, and I give them workouts, and I've got clients I've never met that I feel. I just got invited on a hunt the other day. One of my clients, Justin Hegwer, he was like, man, next year you got to come with me on this hunt. I've never met the guy. We've been working together for the last 2 or 3 months, and I feel like I know him. And it's just the relationships that this job has given me has been awesome. And it, like I said, it gives me what I love about college rodeo, what I love about being a coach. I still get to kind of achieve those things, but not being tied into an actual program.
Yeah, for sure. I would add, like, I've had a lot of conversations on this broadcast in the last few months or last few weeks, strangely, about bull riding and PBR. And I think one of the things that I appreciate so much about the PBR is not that my son wants to be a bull rider, definitely not that part, but the focus that they have put on their marketing campaign and marketing cowboys as athletes. And I think that's the main distinction. And like somewhere along the way, like that just kind of changed in the mind of the rodeo cowboy, that I am an athlete, and athletes need to train and prepare and do these things differently than what we've seen in the cowboy world. And I would say, you know, Kelly and I grew up together. He didn't rodeo in high school or junior high, his dad had a really strong rodeo background, but he was an athlete. He was a wrestler and kind of came from that mentality. And so when he brought that over to the rodeo world, I do think that that's like the main distinction, that when we start talking about rodeo cowboys as athletes, then it changes your mindset about preparation and mindset, even competition mindset. But it's been really interesting to watch, and also interesting too. I mean, I think in high school, I wasn't worried about that. I mean, I was young. I didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
that stuff. But once I got to college and I actually had access to a legit weight room and a personal trainer and all these other, well, okay, I'll also add I had a buttload of injuries. So it became necessary for me to make sure that I was working out and stay healthy. But it just kind of changes your mindset. And once you hit that point, then you start to realize um, the different things and the different doors that can open because you are physically capable of doing it. And I would add too, it does seem like rodeo athletes at the pro level are doing it for a longer amount of time than they were able to before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the key is not just about success now,
Mhm.
but success later on, and that's where injury prevention comes in. Which, I mean, guys have been working out for a long time,
Mhm.
but not necessarily working. I just had this conversation with a client the other day. He was like, "So why do I need to work out muscles that I probably don't use riding broncs?" And it's
Yeah.
like, that's a great question. You would think, like, I used to do everything, was just based on bareback riding. But the
Hmm.
problem is then we build these muscle imbalances that pull on the joints in odd ways that they're not created to. And the next thing you know, you lay in just a little wrong. You've all seen it where it's like, man, that didn't even look bad. Boom, shoulder blown out or
Yep.
knee or whatever. And it's because of these muscle imbalances that we've built. And so being a well-rounded athlete, the key, like you said, is Kelly was an athlete first. A lot of these guys are, probably probably at least 70% of professional bareback riders wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
They're wrestlers. They
That's
know what
interesting.
it's like to be on the mat with somebody, and if you lose, it is your fault.
Hmm.
There is no excuses. There is no, and also the regimen. I did not wrestle, but the regimen as I understand, that wrestlers go through to prepare themselves for matches, whether it's cutting weight, whatever it might be, those regimens, like that's work. And so
Yes.
if you can do that to accomplish your goals in wrestling, then being the athlete you need to be to ride bucking horses is it. I mean, it's just it's an easier transition than
Hmm.
somebody that's never worked out before that wants to ride bareback horses or wants to rodeo. Like, I mean, it takes a lot of physical work, a lot of physical work to be successful. And so people that have some sort of sports backgrounds where they're athletes already, it's huge. And also the development. We see these, we're seeing, not to get on my soapbox, we're seeing kids younger and younger start in on
Yeah.
getting on ponies and doing some of this stuff. And I'm not saying any of that is bad. I am loving the interest that it is bringing to rodeo, because as you know, and as anybody involved with rodeo knows, especially bareback riding, we have a problem with our numbers. We haven't done a great job in the past of taking care of our youth. And so now we're just reaping what we've sown. So I love it. However, you know, uh, look at some of those guys, like Kelly or like Tim O'Connell. Some of these guys, they didn't start riding bareback horses until like college age,
Hmm.
or after college for that matter. But because they were fully developed, they knew how to work out, they knew how to train, and they surrounded themselves with people that were professionals and that knew what they were talking about. Within a year, 2, 3 years, they've picked it up and they're competing professionally, making a living rodeoing within 3 years. It took me, it took me I started when I was 15, and I made my first circuit finals when I was 21, and I probably shouldn't have even been at the circuit finals. Like, it took me twice as long as it's taken a lot of people, because I didn't have people around me. Number one, I wasn't an athlete. Number two, I didn't have people around me that knew what was going on, that were willing to step in and say, hey, try this, do this. I had my dad who rodeoed and did the
Hmm.
best that he possibly could have by me. But it wasn't what a lot of these other guys have had.
Yeah.
They've
These
got
junior kids.
Absolutely, they've got all the opportunity to learn and to be better right off the bat, and I think that is wonderful. But there's something to be said for development
Hmm.
and being injury free going into adulthood, as opposed to racking up a bunch of injuries when you're 15 or
15, 16.
younger. and then they're not healing right, not growing. So anyway, I do love the junior aspect of rodeo, the junior NFR. Man, that's awesome. I think it is all really, really good stuff that's creating interest in rodeo and getting people from places where they might not have, if they'd have waited until high school or after, they might not have ever had any interest. Their parents don't rodeo, but they found it. A buddy in grade school does it, whatever. I think it's awesome. But I think that there's a fine line between preparing them to be successful later on and possibly being detrimental to the longevity of their career also.
Yeah, I mean, I would also add that I feel like the junior NFR kind of makes the dream of qualifying for the NFR real.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I kind of missed obviously the breakaway roping has just gotten into the pro level here the last couple of years. They'll crown a breakaway national champion this year at the Wrangler NFR, which is amazing. But I missed that. I missed all of that. And so growing up, I knew that if I wanted to be at the Thomas and Mack, I had to run barrels. And knowing that, like if I was going to do that, I had to have a good barrel horse. I probably had to have more than one. And I just kind of knew that just wasn't really possible for me and for our situation, especially when I was in college, my good horse passed away. So that kind of went by the wayside. But I think that when you start incorporating, especially breakaway roping, but when you start incorporating it at the junior level, and they see these other events that are now competing at the national level, at the adult professional level, it just makes it that much more attainable. And obviously, other girls had that dream and they made it happen. And so I don't want to take that away, but I have always been more of the realist and very kind of logical in my thinking. Like, I want to do that, but I'm going to do this because this is safe for me. And not everybody thinks that way. So I feel like this will help those kind of logical thinkers like me. Like, well, if I can make the junior NFR, I definitely can come back here and compete over there also. So I like that. I could have used that, obviously. So let's talk a little bit about what your year looked like. And it's so hard. I don't really particularly like asking this question about like, what's in your future? Because honestly, I mean, it's just weird right now. We don't even need to talk about why, because I think everyone knows why. But let's just talk a little bit about the year and what it looked like. And then I want to talk about your wife's business a little bit, just because I think it's very creative and, it's clothes. What can you lose?
Yeah, absolutely. The year was it was difficult. I really we had I was planning on just kind of circuit rodeoing and getting my qualifications up. We're moving across the country. We had our third child in August, so it wasn't going to be a great year for me to rodeo hard. And so we decided that because of the injuries I had last year, I had no qualifications. So we were just going to circuit rodeo and get my qualifications up, and it was going to be better. And then, in June, when they opened rodeos back up, 15th place had 17,000 won. And it was like, this might be an opportunity. And so I decided that I was gonna try and go hard, and it was a really defeating, frustrating. It was a hard year, and there were times where I was ready to. I was like, man, I made a mistake. I'm ready to hang it up. I don't think that I should be doing this. I'm too old. And then there were times, when everything was going well, but I feel like the negative times really outweighed the positive times for the most part. And I worked with Richie Champion's wife, Paige. She has a company in which she does a lot of like sports psychology and stuff like that. She's a Olympic figure skater. She's awesome. I can't say enough good things about her. And I even worked with her for a while on diving in. And between the things that she helped me realize about myself, this year was a phenomenal year for me. Like I didn't even finish in the top 50, which was embarrassing. I allowed that to be embarrassing for me for a lot of the year. And we kind of dove into some issues like that had nothing to do with this year with rodeoing. It was like, okay, why do you feel that way? Or, why do you think that and a lot of self-awareness, which people don't want to do that. People don't want to
Yeah,
dive deep.
that's the hard stuff.
Absolutely. And we dove right in, and I learned so much about myself this year through not getting the results that I wanted, that like I'm a completely different competitor now than I was in June. And I think that I'm a better competitor now because I'm more aware of these little things that have held me back in the past, or what motivates me. I'm more aware of what motivates me. I'm more aware of what I want out of my rodeo career than I was before. I'm also aware of why I want a career in rodeo, as opposed to, for so long and for so many people, for myself, I was rodeoing out of a fear of failure, not out of a desire to succeed. And when we
Yes.
realize that this fear of failure and of not being what I have the potential to be, when we realized that, it was just it changed a lot of things for me. So this year was difficult. The flip side of that coin is that this year was also really beautiful, and that I got to take my family with me quite a good bit, especially the last half of the year. To the last few rodeos, I scarred them for life by strapping car seats on a 4,000-mile trip. We went to Gunnison, Colorado, and Fowler, Idaho, and it was kind of a spur of the moment trip. We went and we got to spend Labor Day weekend together. I got to take them with me almost everywhere I went, from the middle to end of August up through our circuit finals that was just a couple weeks ago, and so,
Mhm.
or the beginning of October, a month ago now, I guess. So, like, that was awesome to me. We made some memories, and some good, probably some bad, but we had a great time being able to take them with me, and that was a huge tool in me finding out what works for me as far as pregame. Like, I when I take the family, I usually have the two older kids behind the chutes with me, and so I don't spend hardly any time like thinking about what needs to be done. It's
Like you used to.
Yeah, it's a making sure that they don't get it's a making
Yeah.
sure that they don't get in the bullpen. And it's like I'm always yelling at them, or like, hey, over here, go, like. And it was just, man, it was just so more relaxing. And when you can stand on the back of the buck and shoots, and we're getting ready to pull, the national anthem is just finished or is going on or is about to start, and I can look over 30 feet away and see my family sitting there, and see my 1.5-year-old just waving like Forrest waves at Lieutenant Dan. Like, that,
Hmm.
to me, that was when I know, like, man, I love this. And that was where I was like, okay, I need to step back a little bit and not be so intense all the time. Like, be able to stop and enjoy what we're doing. And that was another switch for me. Taking them with me was a lot of fun. So it was definitely a hard year, but one that I will always be thankful for.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really interesting because also knowing your why makes the how way easier.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
Absolutely.
mean, if you're focused on the how, oftentimes you can't get past that. Like you can't figure out how you're going to make that work. But when you make the why, like in the middle and the very, very front of the things that you do daily, then the how just comes. I mean, it's really hard to explain, but we talk about it a lot in our day jobs, in real estate. Like, I didn't get in real estate. My why for real estate was so that I could be here for my family. And it expanded and kind of crosses over with the mission of Bullfrog Creatives. Like my title for Bullfrog Creatives is the creator of opportunities. And it originally started, as you know, as like a marketing firm.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of morphed because the creator of opportunities, really what I'm really good at is talking to people and building relationships. And so then it started to turn into, I'm the creator of opportunities to build relationships. And it morphed over into my real estate career so nicely. Like it all kind of happened. And I'm pretty sure it happened because I was in quarantine. Like I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and what was important here at home and how I was going to make it work for my life and my jobs too. And so um once I was able to make that connection with the why, that they're basically the same, and building relationships and helping people is what I'm passionate about, then things started to fall into place. And I would add to that, um, there's no really, like, I just like to talk to people and I like to build relationships. And so that's why we do this broadcast that we do. I don't get paid to do it, although I wouldn't turn it away. Mhm. So, Cinch has jumped on, and I do in kind. I have an in kind partnership with them, and so they, my children, who grow out of clothes, as you know, very rapidly, that eases that pain a little bit. Um, but it's just something out of passion, and when you can do what you love, it's like I mean, it's that corny quote, like, if you do what you love every day, you won't work a day in your life. But it's just finding that fit for your life, and the why and the how kind of rolls out easily after that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so many people get the process wrong, and I've been guilty of it in my life, and just focusing on the how, like what our goal is, and then how are we going to get there, instead of thinking about the why. Because like you said, when you've got the why, uh when that is clear and plain and easy to see, then you just figure out the how step by step, and not get too far ahead of yourself. I completely agree with you that the why is extremely, extremely important, and is something that can shift. It's not something that is always stays the same. I mean, it can shift. And so it's super important to ask yourselves multiple times throughout the year, like, why am I doing this? And getting back to that why, so that we don't get so focused in on the how that we start to lose the passion for what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're encouraged in our real estate business. Our broker is a pretty amazing man, but we're encouraged to have a personal mission statement. And I think once I got into that culture, then I started to really tie all those things together. And I don't know. I mean, I think that when you're in a business, you've heard that before, like, what's your mission statement? What's your vision? And that kind of stuff. But when you start to think about it on a personal level, it can change. I don't know, it almost makes you question, why you've done the things you've done and how they fall into your mission and what you want to do when you grow up and why you want to do that. So it's been a good change for us. And I think that sometimes it takes those of us a little bit longer to figure out our why, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
So,
all.
Logan, speaking of whys, I am super interested. I would love to know a little bit about your wife's boutique and the name behind it. I think it's super creative and very fitting, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing. She started this boutique a few years ago because she loves clothes, and she just had the idea that she wanted to, like, try to sell some clothes. And so she named it Rodeo Broke Boutique, because we're always feel like we're behind the eight ball trying to pay entry fees or pay fines or buy the car or whatever, or get her to a barrel race, or now go to junior rodeos, right, Conley? Go to junior rodeos. And so, however, Conley's entry fees are much more, they're a lot easier to cover than mine. But it's just started out of kind of like, hey, maybe this is a way for us to fill a little bit of the gap. And it's really, she's done such a great job with it. It's really exploded. There's a plethora of boutiques and stuff out there, and you know Lacey, the way that she's kind of planned out and operated her, she tries stuff. She tried to, like, say, like, sell shoes or whatever, and they just don't work that well. And so then she kind of goes in a different direction. And right now, I mean, it's the boutique typically makes our car payment. I mean, it's like it's gone really
Yeah.
well, and it makes me happy to see something that she enjoys doing, and as is giving her some reward. Like, and she's always, I mean, that's what we do. We drop off packages. The kids and I drop off packages almost every day, don't we, Conley? We go to the post office almost every day and drop off packages. And so she's always working on shipping something out, and she loves building relationships. She's got clients that she's never met, that
Mhm.
she loves working with people. And she gets super excited when, like, Ty Brewer's wife buys some stuff from the boutique, and she's like, oh, another bareback rider's wife. And so she just enjoys working with people and getting to meet new people and
Mhm.
being able to send them some stuff. And so it's worked out really, really well. And I couldn't be more proud of her for the work that she's put in and the rewards that we're seeing from it.
Well,
So
that's awesome. So I just looked at the time. It's 2:58. Sometimes these things just get away. When you have the right person on, or any person, because I can talk about anything clearly, or nothing, whatever. So I'm going to wrap it up a little bit. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks, Conley. Hi.
say thank you. She's excited.
Um,
Been asking to go home. We're sitting in a church parking lot, and she's been asking to go home for about 40 minutes now. So
oh,
she's
so that's awesome, because we didn't hear any of that.
great. She's done.
I
She's
was
done.
thinking your children are angels.
Yeah, she's done.
My children are duct taped to chairs downstairs.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding. They're not. I'm just kidding. Don't make that call. So I'll just do a quick sign off. Logan, thank you so much for your words of wisdom and for your time. I appreciate it. So y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. As I mentioned, we are in quarantine again, so I'll be tuning in from here next week. If we're not, something magical happened and we tested negative. So we'll find out. Yay. So shout out, a few shout outs. Listen, we have shot rapidly up to over 1,000 followers. I felt like pretty quickly, although I think it was closer to 6 to 8 months. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I just like to have conversations with people that are involved with rodeo, that are involved with college rodeo. So I want to do a couple of things. One, I'm wearing a special shirt today. Now that we are in November, it's technically not Breast Cancer Awareness Month anymore, but I am wearing my shirt for the Tata Trot, supporting the Wyoming community. Oh, excuse me, Wyoming Foundation for Cancer Care. I don't know where I was going. And so I want to give a special shout out to them. As many of you know, I wrote a couple of blogs about this. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. So we took that journey. I say we, but really she did it, and she kicked its butt. And so shout out to my mom and to the Wyoming Foundation for Cancer Care, because we did rely on them for a few things. And so if you're looking for a place to send your donations this fall, always reach out to your local organizations. And we do have some giveaways in regards to that. Y'all can comment on this post if you're interested in some breast cancer awareness swag. And we're also giving away a Cinch Jeans gift certificate. I have a few of these, and it seems like there's been crickets on our page. So I want to give a shout out to Cinch Jeans for their support. And y'all, who doesn't want free stuff, especially right now? So go in and you can do it on this post too. Comment below who your favorite rodeo coach is or who your favorite team is, and you will go into our entry to win a Cinch Jeans certificate. And I'm trying to think, too many things are rolling around in my head. Oh, listen, I want to do a shout out for Lacey's Boutique. It is Rodeo Broke Boutique. So if y'all are on Facebook, which clearly you are, go search it out. She's got some really, really cute clothing. I mean, it's clothes and it's rodeo boutique. So if you want to sponsor a fellow cowboy and their cute little family, then you should go there. I think that's about it. I think I've rambled on for long enough in this sign off. Stay tuned. I have reached out to several people and have not heard back. I will be the squeaky wheel and continue to make those asks and see who we can get on our broadcast for next week. And we're going to hope to get back to our broadcast on Monday afternoon. Might have to change the time because children and homeschool collide with my schedules now. So stay tuned. I hate to change the time because consistency is important, y'all. All right, tuning in. Oh, we got a comment. Connie, thank you. Jim Boy Hash. It's a good coach right there.
Boy.
That's funny. Yes, Connie, you're entered. See how easy that was? Tag all your friends. Get them over to the page. You could win some clothes. All right, I have rambled on long enough. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Y'all have a good week. Logan, thank you so much. Give your wife a kiss and all your babies a hug and kiss too.
All right, will do. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week.